Hello, this is Success. How may I help you?
So first off, Sean, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell everybody exactly it is what that you do.
Yeah, Jordan, thanks so much for having me. I help people build their influence with online video. I got started in 2003 in my local church shooting videos for my youth group. Your first videos are your worst videos. Those videos were terrible. But now, 16 years later plus, I have clocked over 40,000 hours in video. And it's my passion. Have built a six-figure, then multiple seven-figure business. Is helping others leverage the greatest communication shift in the last 2,000 years, the internet, social media, but the content format of choice is video. Video is dominating all the platforms. So what cameras do you need? How do you use your smartphone to create video? What are the best practices? What are the tools? What are the strategies? That's how I help people. And that's my passion.
Awesome, Sean. Well, first I'd like to dive into your story. How exactly did you get to where you came to today?
Yeah, I mentioned that back in 2003 was when I first got started, and it was just
Okay.
kind of serendipity. I was coming home for summer from college, and my parents went to a new church, and I wanted to get involved in something productive during the summer, and not just like goof off. So I, sight unseen, my parents were going to a new church. I said, "Hey, maybe I could volunteer." So I called the youth group and asked if I could. So the youth pastor Jeff Morris handed me a video camera, an HV30 from Canon,
Okay.
old DV tapes, and some video editing software, Adobe Premiere, which is still what myself and my team use today. And I started making videos. And your first videos are terrible, like they were horrible. But what was nice was a couple things I learned. Number one, I committed as a volunteer. And I was
Yeah.
doing it for free, which is what all the people that are hustling on YouTube are doing too. You're doing this as a side hustle. You got a main job, you got a family, you got school. You have to put your sweat equity into creating content. Well, I was doing this in 2003, weekly videos, and that would play on Wednesday nights 2 years before YouTube started. And it was teaching me discipline. It was
Yeah.
teaching me how to put out regular content. It was teaching me and getting me ready for the world we're in today, where content is basically is the bridge to growing your business, growing your brand. And
Yeah.
eventually the senior pastor said, "Hey, these aren't too bad now after about a year. Make these on the weekends too." So as a volunteer, I was pumping out 104 videos a year, two a
Wow.
week, and learning to edit faster, and of course making mistakes and forgetting to save my project and all these types of things. But
Yeah.
all of that happened. And then year after year since then, I just haven't stopped learning, practicing. And there's a famous book Malcolm Gladwell wrote called Outliers, where he studied what's called the 10,000 hour rule, that says it takes 10,000 hours to develop mastery in any subject. Well, I did the math, and I think I'm at somewhere near 40,000 hours invested in video and communication and editing and laying out a script and outlining a video and running ads and all these different things. And so, yeah, I just got started, and then I didn't stop. And once I kind of figured out my niche, I just became obsessed with wanting to master my craft. So I've just studied and went to conferences and practiced and worked with people. And that's kind of what we've been doing over this journey.
Okay. So through your journey, you talked about like maybe putting in a lot of effort doing videos for free, volunteering. So my next question is, what was your greatest struggle going through this journey? Was that part of it, or do you think there was something else that like really had you struggle becoming a YouTube creator like full time?
Yeah, I think that there's probably two. The first one was honestly a lack of self-belief. I think that, a lot of times we think the thing that's preventing us from going to the next level in our life is something that is outside of us. If only I got shout out by someone and they put me on. If only I got some money, then I would have a little time to invest in this. If only I got, on Oprah, if only whatever. And so we think that the answers are external, when in reality, I really believe that it starts internal. If you don't master your inner game, your outer game will never happen. And it's actually in mastering your outer game, that your inner game, that everything around you begins to change. So what I mean is, it's hard. I get it. I mean, people listening, it's hard to share your own voice. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard to believe in yourself. It's easy to believe like, oh, they could do it, but we count ourselves out.
Yeah.
And I'm similar, man. I mean, had more confidence being behind the camera. I had actually more confidence being behind the computer because I started to get good at mastering titles and search engine optimization and ranking videos. And I even work with other two YouTubers to do it, but to help them with those types of strategies.
Okay.
But I didn't have that same confidence for myself. The way I got it was just time in the game. I think the proximity principle is the biggest thing that can change. And what that is you want to get around the right people, you want to get in the right places, and when you do, it levels you up. When I've met Benji, the co-author of our book YouTube Secrets, back in 2010 in our small town an hour north of Seattle, and him and his family were also just on the come up, but they were a little bit further ahead, and they were speaking into me like, hey, you should get on camera as well. And I mean, a lot of repetition. It's like, if you get around people who stretch you, challenge you, believe in you, and will speak into you, and you keep doing that, and then you get to places, once I started going to events like VidCon, and I started to get in even entrepreneurial meetups and things, my confidence grew. Confidence is like a muscle, and you got to work it out, and it grows over time, and you can develop that kind of unstoppable, confident mindset to put yourself out there on social media, which can be it's a very scary thing.
Yeah. So my next question is mindset. How big is mindset in your life, Sean? And what exactly do you define mindset as?
So mindset, I think, is everything. I didn't make that up. Everything starts with the thought. And sometimes the personal development movement gets hated on, but it's completely true. Like, nothing that ever has been manifested into the world was ever conceived without there first being a thought. And, you know, the famous book, Think and Grow Rich, people hate on it because they think that it's about just only thinking. That becomes the issue. Is like, if you only have a thought, well, then you're never going to have success, but it's got to start as a thought. And the problem is, man, our thinking is everything. A lot of us experience so many negative thoughts. We spend a lot of time just dwelling or pondering things, or just bouncing it back and forth, when ultimately we need to take massive action. But it's hard to also take massive action when you don't have your mind right. So I have very intentionally, I've understood, I've developed a passion for learning. I believe that lifelong leaders are lifelong learners. And I don't just mean studying generalized information. I mean studying information relevant to my craft. So I studied YouTube, and that built confidence as well as, but then also I really believe, this morning I'm like listening to like personal development stuff while I shaved and I took a shower. I reading books, I'm a Christian. So I start a lot of days. The Bible gets my mind right, but then I read Leadership by John Maxwell. And now I'm on The Laws of Success, which is another book by Napoleon Hill, always working on my mind, because if you don't have confidence, you'll always find a way to lose.
Okay.
Yeah. And your mindset is critical. And so, it's hard. I get it. Like, I'd say this too. I come from a small town, and it's really easy to let your small town make you small-minded.
Yes.
Your small YouTube channel, your small business, it'll make you small-minded. And why wouldn't it? That's not even a put down. It's the fact that we've heard the fishbowl analogy, that if you put a fish in a fishbowl, it'll only grow to a certain size based on its environment and its surrounding. But when you move it into a larger bowl, the fish grows larger. That's so interesting. The place, the environment that it's in is affecting its growth. So then what does that mean for us? That if we want to grow, it means we have to be intentional to get in the right places, get around the right people, build our network, get the right information. So many people are feeding on mindless entertainment and I'm all for it. I love movies. I love it all. But like, how much time are you spending working on your confidence game, your mindset, your inner game? And I clock a lot of time, because I just realize it fuels everything else I do, not just in business. It fuels how I am as a husband, how I am as a human in other relationships. And I believe the best gift we can give to those around us, including the people we serve online, is living our best life, which means trying to get our confidence from a 4 to a 10 if we need to, getting our skills from a 2 to a 10, getting our our message dialed in and clarity from a 0 to a 10, and just leveling up. And that's a process, man. It's like it just is lifelong. Like, it's a journey. It's not really a destination, but intentional personal growth has been the absolute fundamental game changer in my life and business.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like like you said, where it's a journey. It's a journey where you're never going to be perfect, but you always have to keep growing in order for you to feel better, I guess.
I totally agree. And actually I love that too, because John Maxwell is a great book I recommend. It's on the 15 invaluable laws of growth. And it's what can be overwhelming is if we think about where we are and we think about where we want to be, it's like being out of shape and being overweight and then wishing you were ripped. It seems like it's so far away. It's like it's a lot less about focusing on the destination and a lot more about just focusing on growth today. Because if you focus on growth and not even really the goal, but just growing, what ends up happening is the goal gets checked off eventually, because if I change my habits a little bit today, my discipline a little bit today, those small tweaks lead to giant peaks. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, I'm in a different place. And I hate to push this further, but it just gave me this thought. I've recently been going through a physical transformation. And just a few years ago, I was about almost 40 pounds heavier. And I started to eat different and exercise. But here's the thing. I didn't do CrossFit. I didn't do anything extreme. I really didn't do anything that was like, what some people do. I didn't take any pills or like do any extreme surgery. Right. All I did was I made a few small decisions. And then I didn't get really big results in the first year. I didn't even get big results in the second year. But now 4 years later, I am more lean. I'm more fit. I ran a half marathon last year. And so it's small tweaks. And that same is true with your mindset, your life, your goals, your YouTube channel. If you're committed to just growing, if I just get 1% better today, then years later, you'll be in a whole new reality if you stick with it.
Yeah. So my next question for you, Sean, is what do you have any morning routines or daily habits that like allow you to get your mindset in the right position when you're starting the day?
100%. So I read a book, changed my life, called The Miracle Morning. At the time, I was actually my job was I was running a local site of a church. I was called a campus pastor. So we played video venue of the main guy, and so I was over the day-to-day of a church in Irvine, and it was one of the hardest seasons of my life. It was great for me because I was growing as a leader, and I was in a high pressure season. Kind of high stress and in a new environment. So it was forcing me to level up and be stretched. But I also found that during that season, I got to a place in my life where I did kind of feel like I was treading water and like gulping water. And I kind of felt like I was drowning. And when I discovered this book, The Miracle Morning, whereas maybe you just feel like you're getting kicked around by life, getting kicked around by your circumstances, your finances, cost of living in Irvine, California, cost a fortune. So I was trying to make side money while I had my salary and all this other stuff. Being in ministry doesn't pay that well. And so what I did was I discovered this book and how Elrod in the book talks about when he's in the same situation, like finances down, confidence down, out of shape, not doing good. He just realized that he would probably hit snooze a bunch of times, right? And then get up. And it's almost like you were reacting to the day instead of being proactive with your day. And not getting your mind right. And so anyways, he studied the morning routines of the greats and came up with some commonalities. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I pretty much just follow that system, which is spending some time in silence. It's spending some time potentially in prayer or meditation, kind of silent, same thing. It's also spending some time reading, spending some time reflecting over your goals and your purpose statement. And if you haven't even written down, so I started every single day, bro. I could take this journal and I can open it up and say, true success is loving God, loving myself, loving my family, loving my work, living my purpose, and fulfilling my potential, and being present and grateful for each and every moment. That's my definition of success.
That's awesome.
But I read that out loud, and I don't necessarily do this every day, but the difference, I probably hit 70% of them. The difference between going through that routine where then you read out loud your goals, read out loud your purpose statement, read out loud, and then read some books, and then journal, scribe. He goes through the whole thing, journal a little bit, get your ideas out. And then after that, I go through my kind of 1-page productivity plan, which is just making sure that I'm clear on who are the people that I need to reach out today, who do I need stuff from today, people wise, what are the projects I'm working on today, and what are my priorities today. And so That's kind of sounds super structured.
Yeah.
I just kind of target it. And the other thing is about 20 minutes of exercise. You know, when I work out or run, I do that. But at least during that morning routine, I want to make sure I stretch. I
Yeah.
get hydrated. It's my time. I'm sipping on some coffee. I'm making sure I'm drinking a lot of water. But dude, it's a game changer. And that absolutely changed my life. And during that season, it was crazy because people around me were like, man, you just seem like you're happier. You're a little more confident. You seem more assertive.
Yeah.
And nothing changed around me. Like I still was dealing with the same fires, the same problems, but my inner game got stronger. I think that everybody, if they want to live a high impact life and even just a happier, healthier life, needs a high impact morning routine.
Yeah, I feel like when you do stuff like that, your perspective on things kind of flip. Like instead of getting like frustrated or like feeling really upset about something in a situation, like you already feel like you kind of are in control of the day.
Yeah, and even if the day goes bad, you can end that and you feel like once you're done with it, you're like, I've already done something great today.
Yeah.
I've read a little bit, I've journaled a little bit,
Yeah.
I've planned a little bit. Like, so even if all I do is accomplish nothing else, depending on when you start, and a lot of times I probably start at 7, by 8 a.m., people's work days haven't even started.
Yeah.
I already feel like I've conquered the world. And then that's momentum that carries into the rest of your day.
Yeah. So with journaling, was that something that you like? It seems like it was something that you didn't do before, and then you started doing, right? How was that process of like, for somebody that's like, oh, like I don't do journaling, or like it's hard for me to do journaling, like I'm trying to figure out how to do it because it just slips my mind in the morning or something like that. How would you say like, what got you to like start doing journaling almost consistently?
I would say that my time being back in like college, I dropped out of college, but I went for a while. I definitely took notes during then, and I've always liked to have like a journal. Like here's one in front of me that it's just not that organized. I wish I like if I told people like, oh, is it always the same? I mean, there's so much stuff in here. Like sometimes I take notes on conversations, and then some morning I journal. I do have a couple journals devoted just to personal development, meaning if when I invest in a course or some sort of a resource, I like to like assign a journal just to that. I've always been a huge advocate of taking notes, so I bring journals to conferences and take a lot of notes. But so I would say I just don't really have a system. I just do it. But what I've learned is that if it's not, I'd rather have a short pencil than a long memory.
Okay.
So I like to make sure that I capture whether it's ideas, whether it's inspiration, so I could write it down. And what's powerful is you can go back and reflect on it. And then I also I've heard some people, and here's probably what I do. I probably haven't stuck with any practice, but some people say this: write your goals down every morning and every night.
Yes.
So I don't do that, but I will write my goals down a lot. Like, so one day I'll be like, today I'm going to write all my goals. I'm going to rewrite my goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes today I just write down the notes of the book I'm reading, and it just gives me a way of going forward. I would throw out that that's just my personality. Like I haven't found one system that I stick with, but there's people I follow like Brendon Burchard now has a high performance journal that's available on Amazon. I think that like something like that's structured. Michael Hyatt has a focus planner. There's the 5-minute journal, which is very popular. Alex Icahn also has like the productivity planner or productivity journal. I think that what I would encourage people to do is understanding, like in the book, there's like scientific research to back the fact that this is going to help your life. Is committing to that, not saying done is better than perfect. You know, if you're kind of anal retentive, you might be like, well, I have to have but just like, you know, if you do it one day, cool. Like that forward progress of just making the decision. If you only journaled once a week, it's going to be better than 0. And if you journal messy, it's going to be better than not at all. You know what I mean? So I think just understanding the power and then experimenting and finding out a system that works for you.
Okay. So next question, Sean, is what are your 3 secrets to success on YouTube?
My 3 secrets to success on YouTube are, number 1, you got to start with the end in mind.
Okay.
And that includes a lot of things, but that is probably my number 1 and first often point of all things. Like,
Right.
if success in any area is clarity about what is it you're trying to achieve, is having a definitive goal, a definitive aim, because you need to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there?
True.
And as a influencer, as a leader, as a thought leader, as a YouTuber, if you don't know where you're going, how can anyone else even follow you?
Okay.
So if they land in your channel and they're confused, they're not even really sure what it's about or what your channel is about, they're gone, man. If you confuse, you lose.
Yeah.
So that's like, you got to start with the end in mind and get clear on who are you and what are you doing on YouTube? Who are you trying to reach? This is a big deal. If you're trying to reach everybody, you'll end up reaching nobody.
Yeah.
Who's your target audience? And then what is your value proposition? There's really two big buckets. You're probably either going to entertain or you're going to educate.
Yes.
You're going to try to like make people laugh. You want people to watch your daily life as a vlogger.
Yeah.
You want people to watch your creative videos, which I believe is a harder path.
Okay.
You know what? Music, you're trying to entertain.
Yeah.
And guess what? A lot of musicians right now are trying to blow up on Spotify, YouTube, sell stuff. It's hard, man. It's a crowded. So entertainment is a hard area to break it through. But if you know that, then what you know is people go, how do I do the stuff you do on my comedy channel? I'm like, you don't. On your comedy channel, you're, dude, what does winning look like for you? Getting gigs, like going viral. People actually thinking you're funny. People go, how do I grow my music channel with your tips? I'm like, well, first problem is your music actually better be good. It doesn't matter how good your thumbnails and titles are. That is kind of a talent entertainment base. On the flip side, education, I feel like, is where the opportunity is. How to garden, how to save money on your taxes, how to, or entertainment. It could be a little more practical. Like, there's a brand that built Walker Stalker Con.
Okay.
They took The Walking Dead. They were just fans of it, started a podcast. Now it's a full-time business because they were so obsessed with something in pop culture that they did not create, but it turned into a business because they gathered fans in a community around it. And so whatever it is you want to do, number one is start with the end in mind. Number two is, if you want to have success on YouTube, you have to post videos on YouTube.
Okay.
People might be like, wow, that, what? That was pretty, but like,
it's true.
It's so true. And a lot of people that reach out to us, they go, hey, like, can you review my channel? Can you look at why I'm not growing? And this is so common. I will click through, and they've been on YouTube for a year. There's 4 videos sitting there. One is like 8 months old, just some weird video on their phone of like their dog. The new one is them vlogging. And then a month later, they do some weird challenge. And then a month later, it's like them eating Cheetos and like reacting to a PewDiePie video. And I'm like, dude, why you're not, there's a couple reasons why you're not winning on YouTube. Number one, what is your end? It doesn't seem like there's an end in mind for you here. Number two, you're not even posting videos on YouTube, which is going to be 101 for you to succeed. And so I think one video a week. And this is for someone which, if they want to grow on YouTube, that means you're serious. Like, if it's just a hobby, who cares? Like, do your thing, man, whatever. But like, you have to make a mental switch to say, I'm going to stop dabbling and I'm going to start dominating.
Yes.
And once you do, then you need to commit to posting videos. And then what you do is you need to treat it like a professional. Look, you're not getting paid and you don't have a boss, but you need to treat it as if you were. Yeah. Because if you want professional results, you have to act like a professional. Yes. A professional is not just going to go, I just don't feel like uploading the promised Tuesday weekly video. Yeah. You say, shoot, if my computer crashed, I'm freaking getting a loan, getting one from Best Buy, bringing it to my house, staying up all night to edit, because come hell or high water, the new video comes out every morning at 8 a.m. on Tuesday for your weekly upload. So just commit to posting videos. And 2 things will happen in that process.
Okay.
Number one, when you first start, your first videos won't probably be very good. Your first videos will be your worst videos. You have to be willing. I like to say, though I walk through the season of suck, I will fear no evil.
Okay.
You got to go through the season of suck. But what's happening is a lot. you got to use your season in obscurity to prepare you for popularity. You're in that season. Those uploads, they're helping you become a better communicator. They're helping you find your voice. You might say, well, Sean, I don't know what my end goal is. Good. But then keep posting videos because you learn by doing. And after you have 10 videos under your belt, 50 videos under your belt, 100 uploads on your YouTube channel under your belt, you're going to know so much more than you did. You'll feel different. And that's the kind of people like Sean. How did you get where you are today? By working really hard, really focused as possible. I mean, I was confused for years, but I kind of just was like, I got to figure this YouTube stuff out. I knew I was like, I'm figuring social media out. I want to build a life on my own terms. I want to build a business on my own terms. And I know this is the path. It's not working right now, but I'm just going to keep going this direction. So I just made a decision, committed to the process, and then didn't stop and did it for the last 15 years. And then I was committed to learning during that part, which brings me to that third tip, would then be to say consistency then is the third tip.
Okay.
Because now that you started with the end in mind, you're posting videos on YouTube. Now stay consistent over the long haul. Treat YouTube like a small business.
Okay.
Most small businesses are not profitable for 24 to 36 months.
Yeah.
That means if you're serious, you're committing to doing this, putting in the work, whether or not you're profitable, whether or not you're getting the views you want or the money you want, for at least 3 years of showing up consistently. And by the way, we just disqualified like 999 people because they're just not going to do that. They're going to go, oh, I didn't go viral in three months. But sure enough, if you do commit to that process, but here's the thing, consistency is not just uploading. You also want to hone in a consistent message.
Yeah.
Look, if you post 52 videos and you have 52 different messages, no wonder you're not growing. Because no one knows where the heck you're going. You're going in 52 different directions.
Yep.
So it's a consistent uploading. It's a consistent message. It's honestly almost predictable. You need to become predictably unpredictable. Like I know that Dave Ramsey is going to help me get out of debt. And I know that Chalene Johnson with the 131 diet and method is going to help me get healthy and lose weight and have more energy. And guess what? I also know that Casey Neistat is going to deliver like the coolest, like some kind of tech New York vlogs that are actually going to be more entertainment based because he's got a cool personality. I just know that, right? And I don't go to Casey Neistat for financial advice. I know that Gary Vaynerchuk's going to give me good social media tips and business tips. So you want to be known for, so it's consistency in your messaging, consistent. You want to, these guys are also predictable. Casey is predictable, comes up on a boosted board. Now, maybe unpredictable, like, whoa, all of a sudden now he's not, but like, it's pretty predictable. Like, comes up, says some of the things. Gary, they're like, you say the same thing. He's like, well, what else do I have to say? This is just the truth. Yeah. So you know that these people, they actually become consistent in their message. They bring fresh content, but in the same context that they're known for. And so consistency in your uploads, consistency in your message, consistency in your execution of the best practices. A lot of times people start with a lot of attention to detail, but then they get sloppy down the road. You can't stop what you did at first to get you successful. Consistent adherence to the best practices. And then finally, a consistent commitment to personal development. As you said, lifelong leaders are lifelong learners. If you do these three tips, you start with the end in mind, you start posting videos, but then what you need to do is consistently keep learning because shoot, this industry is always changing. It's highly competitive. You need to learn. There's a lot to learn. And this is probably the most truth-filled interview in the sense of like the reality of it. It's not hype. It's not whatever. Yeah. It's the fact that like, it's going to take time to learn video editing and graphic design and uploading thumbnails. And for some entrepreneurs, they'll skip past that. You maybe hire somebody, you'll maybe do something, but I'm assuming you're on my path and you just learned it all. I learned how to use Photoshop little by little. I learned how to use Adobe Premiere. Then I had to learn how to be on camera. I learned how to be better on camera. I studied teaching. It's just a lot of pieces that you add to it year over year. So that's why you want to consistently say, look, I'm not trying to get overwhelmed with this. I'm just going to get better every day. And you would think that, I'm getting close to, at least for this era, close to the top of my game. This is the best-selling YouTube book in the world. It's the, we have 1 million followers across our channels. I've built a multiple 7-figure business. People would probably say you have the right to like, dude, you're an expert now or whatever. You should maybe chill a little bit. Bro, it's May when we're recording this. I've already been to 3 or 4 conferences this year. I don't chill in the lobby. I do and say what's up to people, but I don't chill in the lobby just to network with people because I'm too good now and too smart to sit in the sessions. I get in the sessions. I sit down. I open up these journals, which I just went to Traffic and Conversion Summit in San Diego. Boom. And I'm filling the journals. I went to Marketing Impact Academy, filling it. What's my point? Lifelong leaders are lifelong learners. So when you just commit to moving and then you commit to taking massive action while simultaneously saying periodically, you can't get addicted to information because that'll just keep you too. But I'm always saying, okay, what are the new best practices? What's working on YouTube now? What else do I need to learn? How can now I learn paid traffic? What do I need to know about online marketing in general? Now, what do I need to know about leadership and teamwork? Just a consistency to the whole process. And little by little, a little becomes a lot over time. And Tony Robbins is famous for, I think, quoting actually Bill Gates for saying most of us overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 to 10. If you start with the end in mind and keep posting videos and then consistently level up your game, 5 years from now, your life will be radically different if you don't quit.
Yeah. What would you give for somebody that's listening right now and it was like 5 to 10 years? That sounds like a lot. Like I really, really want it, but like what about those times when I start to get down? Like what advice would you give for the times where like your passion might have started to go away for a little bit due to the stress of life?
I like that. So there's probably 2 things. One, I think it's a mental preparedness I would ask people to have.
Okay.
So they say, what do you do when? Here's my promise. That will 100% come. Like that won't maybe come in 5 years. That'll come 5 minutes after you've turned this video off. Like that'll be a common thing. So I think the first thing is a commitment to principle-based living.
Okay.
Dave Ramsey said, live today like no one else, so later in your life you can live like no one else. I'm 35.
Okay.
I lived weird in my 20s, meaning I just lived different than most of my peers.
Yeah.
Like while they were partying, I was studying, or while they were watching TV, I was making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so I was just making different decisions, choosing and live today like no one else. What I think people need to realize is that if you live kind of crazy for 5 to 10 years, you'll be able to live however you want the rest of your life. Here's another way to put it. If you'll live like a responsible adult that is ambitious and you hustle in your 20s, you can afford to now live like a kid the rest of your life.
True.
And I can now, actually.
Yeah.
So when I look back and I go, dang, I work hard, man. And what we need to talk about this word, it's called sacrifice.
Yes.
Sacrifice comes before success. So you have to have enough faith and belief that you will. And honestly, it might take 17 years. So like it might take 3 for someone listening and it might take 17 for someone else. But the truth of the matter is in both scenarios, it's the best path. Yeah. Because the alternative is regret. The alternative is just living. And here's the other thing is like, this is only speaking to people who are that want to do this. Like if someone's happy, they're like, no, I just literally want to work at the job I'm at, chill on the weekends. Cool. But like, again, so many people want the result of a successful YouTube channel, but they don't want to pay the success tax and put in the sacrifice that it takes to get there. But the other thing I would say is you actually specifically said, what happens when discouragement hits? You just need good tools in your life. One, the first most common reason that you get discouraged and the way to solve it is you're probably just tired.
Yeah.
Because tired eyes rarely see a bright future.
Okay. I like that.
And so you might just need to chill and just say, look, again, I said commit to a week. Dude, take a week off. Like on a macro, you weren't even going to post 52 videos this year anyway. So if you end up only hitting 47, you're already way better off. You know what I mean? And so you might just need to rest. Number 2, I do think who you're surrounded by is critical.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate being in the industry, but I've always, at great sacrifice, I've always prioritized learning, trying to get in the right room, trying to get to the right conference.
Yeah.
But I think these days I'm talking about Facebook groups, online membership programs. Like, you do need a community around you, because chances are your friends, your spouse, your parents, your family, everyone around you, they might not believe in your dreams the same way you do, and they might not be encouraging you to do this. So I think having a network around you, however, Facebook group, local meetup group, your one friend who lives in your town, find a way to get people around you to encourage you on the path, commit to the journey, and then understand that there's a level of it being lonely where you might be like, dude, I feel like my friends are having so much fun at Coachella right now while I'm here grinding. But when you have that deep conviction where you're like, yeah, but like, let's see how they're doing in 10 years. Not like you want them to do bad, but you're just like, let's just play this thing out. Yeah. And there's a book I would recommend by Darren Hardy. It's called The Compound Effect. I think that's why the framework, that's why mindset's everything. Your belief system, your belief, your worldview, your framework is everything. Because when for my belief system, it's actually anchored in my faith. Yeah. But one of the things I do is I read the Bible, the book of Proverbs, which no matter what your faith is, I really encourage people that, especially that book. It's a book of wisdom. It's 31 chapters. I read a chapter a day, every day, once during the month, because it's 31 days in a month. And when you go through wisdom, it's all about wisdom. It's timeless, obviously. I mean, that particular book was written, almost 2,000 years ago, right? And compiled. And so, but this wisdom is so rich, and it's just like, what's tricky about it is you read something about, for instance, it's like diligent work will always pay. Yes. But someone might say, well, like really diligent work pays well. You'll build wealth that way. What happens, though, is someone does a week of diligence and they go, well, I ain't seen the pay yet. I'm not making the pay. What you have to understand is that all of those truths are like seeds. And we have to have much more of a farmer mindset than a microwave mindset, which is what social media is doing to our generation and our thinking, is that I don't want to judge my life by the harvest I'm reaping. I just want to judge it by the seeds that I'm planting.
Yeah.
And if I make the decision to compound effect, plant seeds today for the future I want to harvest tomorrow, then my life is going to be amazing if I just have enough time.
Yeah.
Sure. Because if I plant the right seeds into my business today, then let those grow and they continue to be watered and nurtured, they're going to pay off. If I put the right seeds into my marriage, dude, the reason a marriage fails, it doesn't fail usually. Nothing ever just fails overnight. Dude, it was coming for a long time. It wasn't being invested in, right? And so when you invest in hard work and you invest in going, like, people think, if I go to this one conference, will I leave being a millionaire? No, man, you won't. No. You will lose money. You'll have you paid a plane ticket, you paid for the registration, you paid for all the food, you paid for the hotel. You will leave. You bought something at the conference. You're broker than when you started. Yeah. But when you understand how the world works, you're actually not. Because when you commit to it, you were in the right room, you were meeting people. Well, I want to get collabs with people. I've learned that collaborations with other influencers and entrepreneurs. I've seen a lot of things happen with collaborations over the last 5 years. Yeah. And I've some events where I'm like, dude, nothing came of this in the last 5 days. But it was making the right decisions over the long haul, planting the right seeds, and then having patience to let them grow.
Yeah. So my next thing, Sean, is what is something you are like extremely pumped, extremely excited for that's like coming up soon, or that you might be working on right now? Like something that just like you're extremely excited for that you're doing or working on.
Super excited. We have a live event this year in September called Grow with Video, live one day.
All right.
It's pretty much already sold out, but I'm very excited for that. So that was cool. I'm pretty excited because last year we threw our first event. And because it was our first event, by the way, it was our hardest event. We lost money.
Okay.
And we didn't have a reputation for events.
Yeah.
And we lost money, so you could call it a loss. But I've learned that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Yeah.
But also, it wasn't about just one event. It's about the next 10 years. So what was crazy is now this year, we almost sold out in less than 24 hours when we announced it. We haven't even announced it on social media. We only announced it in like our private membership groups and almost sold out. So what's the point is, again, I mean, and I'm not even trying to brag. It's like saying it's just the compound effect of everything we've been putting into it. So anyways, that's coming up. We've got a webinar for a brand new course called the YouTube Hybrid Growth Blueprint coming up in a couple of months. I'm pumped for that. I love the fact the YouTube Secrets audiobook just came out. These are just some of the projects that I'm most pumped about.
Yeah.
And then probably more than anything, though, I think I don't want this to sound, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, my life has shifted. I think what happens once there's in John Maxwell's book, The Leader Shift, he says, as a leader, at first you're ladder climbing. And that's what a lot of us are doing. We're trying to climb the ladder, get our own subscribers in our companies, our businesses. We're trying to climb the ladder. We want to get the promotions. He says, eventually, as a leader, you shift from ladder climbing to ladder building.
Yeah.
And you start building ladders for other people. And that's my top passion right now. That's exactly, by the way, the audiobook, the event, the course, those the purpose of all those things is the transformation in the people that will consume them and attend them. And so I want to build ladders for others. That includes putting other people on our channel. Think Media was my personal brand. The brand Think Media now has Heather on the channel, has Omar on the channel. We're building a movement of purpose-driven, future-focused, business-minded content creators and entrepreneurs that understand that we're living through the greatest communication shift in the last 2,000 years, understand that social media and online video and the internet are changing the world, and want to go all in to make maximum impact and income through those platforms. And so I think just what I live for now is the stories we're getting, the emails, the messages, seeing other people quit their job and go full time, doing this kind of stuff. And it's a real privilege, and I never take it for granted that I get to do this for a living.
That's awesome, man. So my next thing is, did you ever work a 9-to-5 job? And if so, when did you decide you were done with it? Like, when did you realize that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and 9-to-5 wasn't your thing?
I love that question. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm probably really grateful for my parents is my work ethic. I outwork almost most people that I know in my circle, in my peer group. And growing up, they just taught me hard work ethic. So originally this wasn't 9-to-5. It was probably more than that. I cut a ton of grass when I was 16. I mean, tons of grass, neighbors' grass, fields' grass. I'm talking push mowers, riding mowers, tractors with mower decks, weed whackers. Dude, I am a freaking grass cutting legend. So I did that. And then I started working at Red Robin when I was 17, right before I turned 18. And I worked there all the way until I was 27.
All right.
So I worked at Red Robin and I did all the things. I was the host. I was literally the bird wearing yellow tights and this suit, sweating. There's a Red Robin bird mascot that would walk around. I was the expo, the busser, and then eventually a server. So all of that too was really great. And it made me so doing that for 10 years, and it wasn't full time because then eventually I was also doing ministry and I started to get a little stipend from there. And then eventually in 2009, I worked at I started my business. And that whole time, while I was running my Clear Vision Media business, I was able to still pick up shifts at Red Robin as a way to supplement my income.
Okay.
So yes, the answer is I have definitely put time in kind of 9-to-5 type of role. And even in starting my business, of course, I wanted to be able to quit that. I think I realized that I wanted to live a life on my own terms at some level pretty early. I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
And then the big shift was that even later, fast forward all the way to October 2015, the way I made my living by then was actually all freelance clients. So I was a full-time entrepreneur, but I was a full-time freelancer. Yeah. And when you're a freelancer, you have multiple bosses. So I had 3 main clients. It meant I had 3 bosses. Yeah. And so I really learned that was not what I wanted either. Yeah. And they actually ended up firing me, which turned out to be a blessing. All 3, one a week, in the month of October in 2015, week 1, 2, and 3, each client fired me once a week in 3 weeks in a row. And that was the boost I needed, though, to go all in as an entrepreneur. And from that point, I just never turned back. And all affiliate marketing, YouTube ads, online income, speaking, consulting, digital courses, events now is all of our income streams. And so really, I've been a solo. Now we have a team, but I've been an entrepreneur running my own business.
Yes.
The current business for a little over 3 years now, since 2016.
Awesome. my next thing for you is, Sean, what is your number one dream goal? Before Sean leaves this planet and goes up into heaven, what does he want to accomplish before he leaves?
You know, my number one ultimate dream goal is that drives me is I do want the planet to be able to hear about and experience God's love, like, and that's the conviction of my faith. I'm driven by knowing that God has transformed my life, Jesus, and from my belief system, and has majorly impacted me. And I want other people to know about that. The way I feel like I don't want to be on a soapbox. It's, you know, it has a reputation, like especially Christians have a very interesting reputation in culture. But I just know God's good and that he really loves us. And I want people to experience that. And my process of going through that is that I just see that happen in business, though. I feel like that the way we like honor God is just through our gifts, talents, and our abilities that he's given us, and through serving people. And so in the short term, I also like, that's my ultimate goal. My immediate goal, because that's always going to be up to the whatever individual, is to help people, is to genuinely help people, because life is harder than it ever has been. What I mean is we're seeing, you know, depression rise up, and we're seeing culture. We're seeing a lot of pressures in what's happening with culture, different ages, financial stresses. The middle class is struggling more than ever before. And America's amazing to live in the meantime. So people need answers. There's disruption. I mean, the taxi industry is being destroyed or being disrupted by Uber, you know, Airbnb. Like we're living through a time of such disruption. I feel like with the information I know, the life I've living through social media and the internet, it's a calling, it's a conviction that I'm like, wake up, like the game is changing. Learn these new tools, learn what's happening, learn that it's possible to create a life on your own terms. And you know, my wife, it's part of our journey, has a chronic illness. And back in 2009, she almost died. And my motivation at that time, it was a huge wake up call for figuring out how to make a life on my own terms and like work from home, where I'm recording this right now, was just because of that same stuff. Is like, is people have health challenges, they have life challenges, and the internet and the ability to create a business or streams of income with flexibility, freedom. And I've been thinking a lot about this. My kind of one word lately has actually been freedom. I think that's, and now I'm just kind of processing this with you, but I would say that immediately I want to help people experience financial freedom in my global legacy, you know, emotional freedom, relational freedom, because I am really obsessed with personal development. My next move, by the way, is I'm 35. My thought was this: I'm most passionate about personal development and business development.
Yes.
And I was like a Tony Robbins or someone like that. But I was like, a lot of people just parachute into that industry. What have you done? Like, what have you? So I thought, okay, if I want to do personal development and business development in my 40s, and I already am. We have a business membership group. But what I mean is like really full in. I want in my 30s to actually have built a business. I want to in my 30s have actually strengthened my marriage, gotten physically in shape. Built a multiple seven figure, hopefully 8-figure, hopefully 9-figure, whatever, you know, like built successful businesses. And then in my 40s, I'm not just teaching out of theories or even someone else's information. I'm teaching out of a decade of kind of learning it. And that's the path I've been on. And like I said, so then financial freedom's, you know, relational across the board. That's that whole personal development, and then also ultimately spiritual freedom. And that's where that God card kind of comes into the whole piece. And so that's my life's mission. I definitely don't have it all figured out. I also am adapting as I go, and just grateful. And it's funny, I stole this from John Maxwell, but I also have said this, that if you ask me, how would I know if I was successful at the end of my life? I just ripped this right out of his, but I thought, dude, I resonate, man. I'm taking this. If at the end of my life, I want the people closest to me to love and respect me the most. Period. And the reason I bring that up is because if at the end of my life, I've got a massive company or a massive wealth and massive book sales, and I've impacted a lot of people, that's great. It wouldn't be less. But if my kids don't respect me because they see that I'm living a double life and that I'm just not truly happy. If my wife doesn't fully respect me because she sees who I am on social media, and we actually had some people recently that we're pretty close to, that are vloggers and they've been in the public, but we've seen firsthand this pressure of, hey guys, so pumped, when turns out all this stuff was happening on the back end, and not right now it's kind of falling apart. And bro, I'm struggling with this myself. No. Social media is hard in the sense where we kind of want to put on a show for our business, a show for social media. Yeah. But I guess my point of bringing that up is that I want to do all of these ambitious things and impact a lot of people in my life without sacrificing the things that matter most. What good is it to gain the whole world but lose your soul? I want to impact the world as much as possible, but with a wisdom of making sure that my relationships, friendships, family is as healthy as possible as far as it depends on me, and that I can go out, dude, I don't care what my Instagram followers think, at the end of my life. I want to make sure the people that are closest to me love and respect me the most, and just know that I did my best to love them, serve them, be a man of integrity, and that's some of my goals. Yeah, being authentic and making sure the people that see you on the outside are the same way that the people that see you on the inside. 100%. Yeah. So a question that I was thinking of during this was when somebody's first starting off YouTube or has been in the game for 6 months to a year and wants to get that transition of maybe not quitting their job but starting to monetize or make some income, what would be how would you recommend them go about that? So the way I did it was I focused on YouTube and affiliate marketing as a tech YouTuber. I started video in 2003. By 2009, when I started my business, I took out a $10,000 loan to get the camera gear and whatnot. And I thought, shoot, if I can't make money in my business to repay this, I'll just pay it off with my tips from Red Robin. But my business did make money, and I was able to pay that down. But then I had this Canon 7D, and I had this computer, and I had these mics. And I was learning, I knew about YouTube, of course, and I was learning about affiliate marketing. Whereas if you do like a product review, you talk about it, you put a link in your description to a camera or something. If someone clicks on that link and buys it, you get a small commission. So I would say if someone wants, they first of all should figure out how to make money. That's one way. Affiliate marketing. Yeah. YouTube ads is another way. That way is tough, though. It's not going to pay very well unless you get famous and get tons of views. Yeah. And then other ways, like maybe you're going to sell a physical product. Maybe you want to start a clothing line and do merch, and you're going to use your YouTube channel. Maybe you want to write a book and you're going to do books. Like, you just got to, there's a lot of different ways to make money. You, number one, need to identify that. And I would definitely recommend people check out the book, YouTube Secrets. We cover 10 ways to make money off of YouTube. But the second thing I would say that is a tool for people is the 25% rule. Okay. And if you're wondering, when should I jump off into doing this, and if I'm already making some money, what you should do is step number one is identify how much a month do you need to live on. Okay. Step number two is get your side income to 25% of that amount while you have a full-time job, right? Okay. And then step number three is once it hits that, is quit your job. All right. No, don't email me if this doesn't work out and you follow those steps. I'm sorry. Apparently the rule doesn't work. But here's why it does work, is because if you need to make, let's just say, $4,000 a month. Yeah. And not to live fancy, but just to cover your needs. Yeah. And you've proven that you can earn $1,000 a month on your side hustle, which you're doing after you work at your job 40 hours, commute for 5 more, and recover and everything else, and you've got your side hustle to $1,000 a month. That proves that what would happen when you have nothing else to do, no boss, nothing else to do, and you go all in, then you could get that 1,000 to 4 and beyond. So that's a good metric to where figure out that target, get as quick as you possible to 25%, and then consider going all in at that point and scaling that number up, and you could go full time. All right. So, Sean, what would be your number one piece of advice, like life advice that you follow? It might be something you followed your whole entire life or something that you've been following the last couple months or a year.
but what's your number one piece of advice for somebody in general?
We mentioned it
Okay.
earlier is I just believe a commitment to growth.
All right.
A commitment to growth. Look, none of us are perfect. We're all jacked up. We all have some strengths. We all got a lot of weaknesses. But their growth is real.
Okay.
And growth. If you either grow or wither away. If you're not growing, you're dying. They say that the average person that graduates high school or college will never touch another book in their life.
Yeah.
The average person just settles. It's just true. The average person just settles. And I'm not saying they need to do YouTube. I'm just saying a commitment to growth. If you wake up every day and you think about how can I grow to be a better person, husband, student, YouTuber, life will go good. I mean, and not even every day. You're gonna have those days where you get kind of punched in the gut. You're discouraged. Yeah. Like me, your go-to is gonna be Ben and Jerry's Boom Chocolate Core. I might eat the whole pint. That thing's 1,300 calories just by itself. Hopefully, I did like a long run that this morning, and then I'll just cancel. Sometimes I do that on a Saturday. I'll go crush like 8 miles, which hopefully burns like only 1,000 calories, and then I'll just eat that whole Ben and Jerry's. Like, yo, we just broke even. But for real, awesome. Like a commitment to growth. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And lifelong leaders or lifelong learners.
Yeah.
Knowing, and the other, it's the same thing because it's only one tip. You only ask for one tip.
Yeah.
Having the self-confidence that you can figure it out.
Okay.
Because it's not to say that problems will constantly come your way. Mo money, mo problems. Once you go full time, then you're like, shoot, now I'm a solopreneur there and I'm stressed because now I'm juggling this business and I realize I need help. So then you move into a whole nother era. How do you lead a team? How do you hire people? Then you get a team. Then you're like, dude, this is like being a parent to children. How do I do this? And like, so every stage, like it just never ends. I think not believing that there is some exit plan and that one day you just push a button and you retire. And also, that's not what we were created for, man. Like you see it when someone retires without something else to do to keep their mind engaged, to keep them live. I think you got to just stay committed to continue to grow. Grow into your destiny and your calling and your purpose. Continue to seek to grow, to understand yourself more, to continue to try to grow. Your marriage might be amazing. It could be stronger. Your business might be amazing. It could be stronger. Just seek to grow. It doesn't have to even grow in revenue. It could grow in team unity, just always growth. And if you wake up and then practically do the things, meaning they say the average American watches 6 hours of TV a day. And you might say, well, I don't watch 6 hours of TV. You're like, well, that's because you're calling it Hulu and it's not TV anymore and it's on your phone. And if it's not Hulu, it's Instagram and you're just scrolling, just wishing you could live someone else's life, experiencing FOMO all day. Like there's so much time we have. You got to turn your school into a university with wheels. Okay. So you're listening to podcasts, reading books, listening to courses, going to conferences, but however you learn, going to meetups in your city, like just put time on your schedule to grow. And man, the best investment you can make, Warren Buffett said this, one of the wealthiest men on the planet, the best investment you can make is in yourself. And they talk about it in the Laws of Success book. Napoleon Hill actually got to connect with Henry Ford. Okay. And they did an audit of Henry Ford, right? The founder of Ford Motor Cars. They did an audit of what his company was worth. And it was worth, like billions at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
And they said, how much was the cars and the team and the factories and all of that stuff worth? They said that was about 25% of it. And they said, how much is the intellectual, the knowledge, the expertise, the understanding of Henry Ford? That was 75% of it. And then that's why when he was asked, well, you're rich and successful now, but what would happen if it was taken all away from you? And with zero hesitation, he said, I would just build something else.
Yeah.
He was like, because like I am valuable. I have skills. I have grown. I have strength. So that's a commitment to growth. That's a commitment to mastering your craft, investing in yourself, learning your zone of genius, whatever that is, doing your thing, being the best you can be. And shoot, like you might be an athlete. Then that's what you're focused. That's what you're growing
Yep.
on, you know. But whatever it is, growing and getting better. I think growth, a commitment to growth for life, would be my number one tip.
Awesome. So my last question for you, Sean, is any shout-outs, anything that you want people to check out that you have, man?
Man, I think YouTube Secrets, it's out everywhere. Amazon, all the Amazons around the world. Physical book,
Okay.
ebook, audiobook. It's all out there. And then, yeah, we have 2 channels people could check out.
Okay.
Free content. If you go to the YouTube search bar and you type in the word Think Space Media, that'll get you to Think Media. A lot of get the accessories you need for your smartphone and whatever else. And then if you go to YouTube, best cameras, lighting, all that stuff on Think Media, as well as tips and strategies. And then we have a weekly interview show. If you go to the YouTube search bar, you type in the word video space influencers, ERS, video influencers.
All right.
That'll get you to our weekly interview show for anybody that's like, okay, I do want to do this YouTube thing. I want to master social. I want to master online video. We got your back. That's what we're committed to helping you doing, is maximize your results, build your brand, build your influence faster. And so check out those resources.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.